What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of Rivals and Adversaries. We are back with another episode for our F4U-1 Corsair. Don't have a lot of time on the bench this week because 4th of July is in a couple of days, but let's go ahead and pull out the kit. Might be a shorter episode today. So last episode we went ahead and did a lot of work there on the fuselage. The fuselage is all buttoned up. The cockpit has been installed. It actually fit really well, so I'm happy about that, but there's some seam lines we'll have to come back and correct. Also, the center section there for the wings needs a little bit of extra cleanup, and of course we've got our engine, which eventually we will have to go ahead and paint, detail up, and then glue inside for that cowling. We also have to do a little bit of work here on this flap still. We're going to sand it down and see what we can come up with. I think we'll be okay. So let's go ahead and jump into our first time lapse, guys, get right into the action, and we're going to go ahead and work on the fuselage. We're going to go ahead and get that center section of the wings all nicely finished up, glued into place. I want to go ahead and really focus on the seams for the fuselage, the rear tail, I want to get those ailerons installed, and then of course sanding and filling any areas that need a little bit of help. So let's go ahead and jump into that time lapse, guys. Let's have some fun. Let's get this party started. Alright everybody, we are back, and so far so good. The wings went on decently. Just need a little bit of sanding here and there. A couple of seams we'll have to go ahead and make sure they're fully sanded, but for the most part we're looking okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on now to our fuselage canopy. I need to go ahead and make sure the canopy is nicely masked off. That is a next step to go ahead and get this thing into priming, which will probably be next episode. So let's go ahead and jump back into the time lapse. I'm going to go ahead and mask off all the canopy pieces, which means front windscreen, center sliding section and then the 2 rear windows right behind the cockpit. Those have to be masked off as well. Then I need to go ahead and paint the different areas. I need to go ahead and prime everything, get them ready. I need to install them. And after they're installed, I can go ahead and let them cure up, and then we'll go ahead and next episode come back and we'll prime everything and start the painting process. We'll also have to paint the little windows right behind the pilot, because once I glue those windows on, we're not going to be able to do much with them. So let's go ahead and jump back into a time lapse, get all the canopy parts masked off, then start painting, get them glued down with some PVA glue, and I think we'll be ready to call it quits for today. And we are back, everybody. As you can see, the Corsair is looking pretty awesome. We've got the cockpit installed, the canopy glued in there. The center section is not glued, but the front and the rear portions are. And of course, we have our scratchable gun sight in there too. We got the undersurface window installed. We've come through all the different panel lines and seams, sanded everything down. So far, so good. I'm really liking how this is turning out. A couple of areas here and there on the bottom section might need a little bit of help, but for the most part, we are almost ready for primer. One thing I did run into, we're given two different options for cowling flaps, one open and one closed. And even though I like the look of both of them, I need to figure out what to do with these. And so I thought we'd go ahead and talk a little bit about it, and you guys can weigh in if you'd like. So first off, we have the open version of the cowling flaps. And if we go ahead and place this in the front of the nose, we can kind of get an idea. It does add a little bit more life, a little more interest to the front of the Corsair. The only issue is you see a lot of the inside of the flaps and you see a lot of the back of the engine. And that means that there isn't much detail in there. One thing that's very prominent are the cowling flap actuators, which this does not have. So if we go ahead and decide to open up the cowling flaps, we might need to add in those actuators to give it a little bit more realistic look. However, if we decide to go with the closed flaps, there are some pros for sure. We go ahead and plug this in, you can see it really sleeks up that front nose. It's got a nice taper, it has a beautiful line. Open cowling flaps kind of break up that nice line of the Corsair. So we have some pros and cons to both sides of the coin. Next episode, I think we should be able to go ahead and glue these wings into place, and we can go ahead and test fit those, and they do fit beautifully. However, you see the right wing has a little bit of a gap in the very front there. Doesn't really want to line up, so I'm going to have to take this bit by bit, work incrementally from front to back, and that should be okay to get that nicely lined up. Then I can install that giant propeller, get the engine in place, and then we can go from there. Prime everything, paint everything. The leading edges are already nicely sanded, so that is good. Might have to check it after primer application, but for the most part, I think we are really moving along here, and everything looks awesome. This is such a cool model, guys, honestly. It's a little bit on the older side, yes, but it fits beautifully. It's got great detail, and I cannot wait to go ahead and get this into paint because we have to do a little bit of some interesting things with paint, which I am not really very adept at doing. We have a long way to go before that. We got priming and pre-shade, all that good stuff. So maybe not next episode, but maybe the episode after that. But that is it, guys. I gotta say, I am loving this Corsair. It's looking fantastic. A little bit of a shorter episode this week because, well, 4th of July is coming up. Actually, is tomorrow if you're watching this video. So yeah, I don't have a lot of time here to get back on the bench and do more, but next episode, we're gonna push on, go ahead and start getting some painting and priming, maybe mask off some of these wheel wells here, do a little bit of chipping on there, make sure that all the seams are lined up, go ahead and get this thing one step closer to being finished. Make sure to go check out Joe's build. I know his hamp is looking awesome. So until our next episode, guys, thank you so much for joining us. You know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of Rivals and Adversaries. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.